Hey YouTube, welcome back to Garage Shop Science. So here's what I got. I have the Stanley 20 ounce classic one-hand vacuum mug, Contigo 20 ounce auto seal West Loop, the Yeti Rambler 30, the Rtic Tumbler 30, and then the Orca Chaser 27 ounce. So the question is, what is the best mug on the market? And that's what I plan on testing today. So, stick around. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both a hot test and a cold test in all of them. The first test performed was the hot test. 2 cups of hot water was added to each cup from a common container. The initial temp was then measured, the lids put on, and the temperature was measured every 2 hours for 6 hours. Then a final measurement was taken at 12 hours. The second test was the cold test. For the cold test, 2 cups of cold water was added to each cup from a common container, and then 5 cubes of ice was added to each cup. The initial temp was measured, and then temp was taken every 30 minutes for 2 hours. After 2 hours, the temp was taken every hour until the 6-hour period, then every 2 hours until the 12-hour period, and the final temp was taken at 20 hours. This will be clear when you see a graph of the temperature changes here in a few minutes. At the hour-and-a-half mark, I noticed the water temp was still decreasing because the ice was colder in the water. As such, I decided to stir the water in each cup to try to get the water to hit equilibrium a little bit quicker. I took a measurement, stirred the water, and then took another measurement. This will also be visible on that graph. So, the data's in. And who are the winners, you're wondering? Well, that's not what you should be wondering. What you should be wondering is why I changed shirts. Just so you know, I performed that test about 4 months ago. Since that time, I've been using 4 of the cups almost daily. The Stanley cup and the Orca cup I use pretty much daily here at my house. The Contigo and the Yeti I use daily at work. And the Rtic I gave my dad, he's been using daily since then. So not only do I have the test data, I also have about 4 months worth of real world use with the cups to be able to also speak to. So, but first up, before I get to that, let's start with the test data. Let's start with the hot test first. So now, as you're probably seeing, you're seeing a plot of the hot test. On that plot, you'll notice that all 5 cups start out within 1 degree of each other. And it's pretty clear that the Stanley cup performs the best. After 12 hours, it has the hottest water left in it, followed by the Contigo, and then the Orca, Yeti, and Rtic are all pretty close to each other. You aren't going to notice a 4-degree temperature difference yourself when you're drinking a liquid, so I would say between those 3 you couldn't really actually tell the difference. After the hot test is the cold test. On the cold test there was a little bit more variability at the initial readings. It's closer to a temperature or a degree and a half difference between all 5 cups. But you'll notice that the 2 auto sealing cups are about 3 degrees cooler at the very end of the test. And then the 3 other cups are about 3 degrees warmer after 20 hours. So, based on the results, the Stanley, just scientifically speaking, is the clear winner. But I personally have found through testing, through the last 4 months of using, it isn't quite my favorite. Here's how I have found I like to use these cups. The auto sealing cups, the Stanley and the Contigo, I really like both of them for hot drinks. I like it for hot drinks because nobody wants a really hot drink spilled on them to risk getting burned. So that's where I primarily use the Stanley and the Contigo. And so I compare them to each other, and I compare the other 3, the Orca, the Yeti, and the Rtic, to each other. The difference between the Stanley and Contigo and why I say I don't think the Stanley is the clear winner is literally this push button on the back. The push button on the Stanley, after 4 months, you can hear, is getting hard to press. The Contigo is still a super smooth button to push. It's extremely easy to push. Not only that, the Stanley, when I take it apart, you have to worry about cleaning these things too. There's mechanisms inside these. The Stanley, you have to unscrew this little keeper part that allows this here, which is the part that this button is pushing on and causing to drop, to allow it to release water On Contigo, it's unfortunately at work, so I don't have to show you. There's a little button right here you press, and just pressing that, all the inside parts, specifically this little rubber seal that seals the liquid inside, flips out and reveals everything on the inside, allowing you to clean it. So it's easier to use, the button's easier to press, and it's easier to clean. So between the Stanley and Contigo, my personal preference is the Contigo. Obviously both of them are exceptional cups, and whichever one you get will work and you will not have any issues with. As far as the other three go, between the Orca and the Yeti, those are the two I've personally been using. The Rtic has been with my dad for the last 4 months. As far as the three of those go, my personal preference is whichever one you can get the cheapest is the one to go with. All three of them perform so similarly and perform so well that I don't think you're going to have a noticeable difference between any of them. Now, if you have some brand loyalty, by all means, get the one that the brand that you want. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you didn't like the video, let me know why you didn't like it in the comments, and I'll see about changing what you didn't like about it in future videos.